Okay, so let's unpack this. We've all heard the wisdom, right?
Right.
It's practically a law of physics in the dating world.
Oh, yeah.
There are leagues. You have your solid tens, the celebrities, the models, and then you have your lovable sixes and maybe your unfortunate twos. And the rule is just brutally simple. Stick to your league.
Or if you're feeling ambitious, you try to trade up, but you better have something to offer in return.
Exactly. It's this idea of the ruthless sexual marketplace. For years, we've been told, largely by, evolutionary psychology, or at least the internet's version of it, that dating is basically cold, hard capitalism.
Right.
You have a market value based on your looks and your resources, and you are competing against everyone else for the best product you can afford.
Yeah.
It's stressful, it's depressing, and honestly, it feels a bit dehumanizing.
It does. It really does. It turns intimacy into a transaction. It suggests that if you aren't closing the deal, your price is too high or your product is defective.
But here's where it gets really, really interesting. We have a source today that basically takes a sledgehammer to that entire concept. We're looking at a fascinating, deep conversation between the podcaster Chris Williamson and Dr. Paul Eastwick.
Mm-hmm.
Eastwick is a relationship scientist. He's the author of Bonded by Evolution. And his mission in this deep dive is, well, it's pretty radical.
It is. He's essentially arguing that the pop psychology view of dating, the one dominated by leagues, marketplaces, alpha dynamics, is using the wrong data. He wants to move us from a view of competition to one of compatibility.
And just to be clear, he's not saying evolution is fake.
Yep.
He's not just throwing out biology and saying love is just magic.
No, not at all. Eastwick isn't rejecting evolution, but he argues that the classic evolutionary script we've all been fed just exaggerates three specific things.
Okay.
Mate value, that's the leagues thing,
Right.
gender differences, and the split between short-term and long-term mating. He thinks those factors matter way, way less than we think.
Way less.
Right. And he drops this data point early on that, it completely blew my mind.
Oh, this is the aha moment for sure.
It is. He says that leagues essentially dissolve the longer you know someone.
Dissolve.
That is the core finding. And to understand it, we have to unpack this whole idea of the mating market. Eastwick admits the market is real, but, and this is the key, it only exists among strangers.
So the bar scene. Or Tinder.
Exactly. Tinder. Eastwick cites these hot or not studies, and the methodology is really revealing. If you put a bunch of strangers in a room and ask them to rate people on attractiveness, they actually agree with each other about 70 to 75% of the time.
Okay, so that's the consensus. That's the market. We all generally agree on who the tens are when we don't know them. The jawlines, the symmetry, the height.
Right. It's visual, it's immediate, and it's shallow. But if you ask a group of friends or coworkers to rate each other, people who have known each other for months or years, that consensus just drops dramatically.
Hush.
It goes down to about 50% and sometimes even lower.
So half the time, we disagree on who is hot.
Essentially, the longer you know someone, the more your specific idiosyncratic preferences take over. The consensus fades. You stop seeing them as the world sees them, and you start seeing them through the lens of your relationship.
This reminds me of a term they used in the source material that made me laugh out loud, because we've all lived this. The office plus two.
It's a classic phenomenon.
For the listener, the office plus two is that person at work who, objectively, might be a six. Maybe they dress a little plain, maybe they aren't turning heads on the street.
Right.
But because you see them every day, you see their humor, you see how they handle a crisis, or maybe just the way they smile when they get coffee. And suddenly, in your eyes, they're an 8.
Exactly. Your brain is filling in the gaps with positive data that a stranger simply doesn't have. And Eastwick points out the flip side, which is equally important. The office negus 2.
Oh, the tragedy of the office negus 2.
You might meet someone who looks like a model, an objective 10. The market says they are top tier. But after 3 months of working with them, you realize they're selfish, or they chew loudly, or they just have nothing interesting to say. To you, they become an 8 or a 6.
The market value becomes irrelevant.
It does, because the experiential value is low. And this divergence, this is what Eastwick calls the magic.
The magic.
It is the magic, because this divergence creates a space where a 6 can date a 10, not because they tricked them or because the 10 settled, but because in that specific relationship, they truly see each other as top tier.
That is such a crucial distinction. It's not settling. It's accurate perception based on more data.
Precisely. It explains how stable, happy relationships form between people who look mismatched to the outside world. The outside world is still judging based on the stranger metric, while the couple is operating on the friend or partner metric.
Which brings us to the giant elephant in the room. If the market only exists among strangers and leagues dissolve over time, aren't modern dating apps trapping us in the worst possible phase of human interaction?
That is exactly the problem. Eastwick confirms this. Apps like Tinder or Hinge, they force us to make decisions at the front door.
The front door. I like that analogy. Break that down for me.
Well, think of a relationship like a house.
Yeah.
The living room is where personality, humor, and compatibility happen. That's where the Office plus 2 effect kicks in. That's where you fall in love.
Okay.
But on an app, you're judging people entirely on consensus attributes, height, jawline, job title, before you ever even open the front door.
So if you don't pass the hot or not test at the front door, you never get to the living room.
Precisely. You're being filtered out by the market criteria before the compatibility criteria ever have a chance to work. You could be the perfect match for someone, a true soulmate in the living room. But if your profile picture doesn't hit that 70% consensus threshold, they swipe left.
It's incredibly inefficient if the goal is long-term happiness. And this connects to something else they talked about, the self-improvement trap. You know, the advice everyone gets. Hit the gym, buy better clothes, make more money.
Right, level up your character.
Yeah, like you're leveling up a video game character to increase your market price.
And Eastwick argues this view is gamified, and, well, it has diminishing returns. Look, being hotter or richer absolutely helps you at the front door. We can't deny that. It helps you hop from bar to bar or get more matches on the app. But it matters remarkably little for actual long-term bonding.
Because once you're inside the house, nobody cares how shiny the front door paint is.
Exactly. If the house has no furniture, if there's no personality or kindness, the guest leaves. Eastwick's point is that people spend 90% of their effort polishing the front door and 0 effort furnishing the living room.
So if I'm listening to this and I feel stuck at the front door, what is the alternative? If the apps are rigged against compatibility, what do we do?
Eastwick suggests changing the context, not just the self. Instead of just trying to become an objective 10, put yourself in closed field situations.
Closed field, what's that?
It's a sociological term. So an open field is a bar or a dating app, lots of strangers, low interaction time. A closed field is a situation where you're forced to interact with the same people repeatedly.
Like a sports league, a cooking class, a church group.
A volunteer organization, yeah. You're artificially creating the office environment.
Right. You're giving the idiosyncratic preferences time to override the market preferences. You're giving yourself a chance to become an Office plus 2.
Yes. You're allowing your personality to actually weigh in on the scale.
I love that. It's actionable. Stop swiping and go join a kickball league. But I want to play devil's advocate for a second here.
Go for it.
Let's say you do this. You're a solid 5, and you manage to woo an 8 through your charm and wit in a pottery class.
Ideally, yes. That's the dream.
But aren't you going to be terrified? Isn't the 8 going to constantly be tempted to trade up? Isn't the 5 going to be an anxious mess every time they go out in public?
Yeah, that is the fear. The evolutionary bro perspective would say, yes, absolutely, the 8 will always be looking for another 8 or 10. But Eastwick drops another surprising data point here.
Okay.
There is no evidence that mismatched couples break up sooner, cheat more, or are more miserable than matched couples. You know, 7s dating 7s.
Really? No difference?
None. And the reason is something called motivated biases.
Okay, break that down. This sounds like a superpower.
It kind of is. Once a relationship forms, a psychological defense mechanism kicks in. We actually derate the alternatives.
What do you mean, derate?
So your 8 partner walks into a bar. They see a stranger who is an objective 10.
A threat, right?
A threat, theoretically. But because they are bonded to you, their brain effectively downgrades that stranger. They might acknowledge, oh, that person is symmetrical, but they don't feel the pull. They literally don't see them as a 10 anymore. They might see them as a 6 or just not my type.
So we wear love goggles.
We do. And we idealize our partners. We tell ourselves stories about why their quirks are actually lovable features. Oh, he's not messy, he's just creative.
It's like the analogy they used winning the lottery. If you think you won the lottery with your partner, it doesn't matter if someone else tells you the ticket is only worth $5.
Yeah.
To you, it's the jackpot.
And Eastwick makes a crucial point. This bias is essential for our survival as a species. If we didn't have these blinders, if we were constantly objectively evaluating our partners against the market, we'd always be looking to trade up.
Nothing would last.
No relationships would last, and no children would ever get successfully raised.
Yeah.
We are evolved to be delusional about the ones we love.
That is surprisingly comforting. Being delusional is a survival strategy.
Eh.
Now, speaking of delusions, let's pivot to the other minefield of dating.
Yeah.
Gender differences.
Right.
We all know the men are from Mars, women are from Venus tropes. The standard stance is men want looks and youth. Women want resources and status. It's hardwired. End of story.
And Eastwick challenges this by distinguishing between stated and revealed preferences. This is really where the data gets fun.
What's the difference?
Stated is what you say you want on a survey. And if you ask people, men will say they prioritize looks, and women will say they prioritize ambition and earning potential. They adhere to the cultural stereotypes.
They fill out the form the way they think they're supposed to?
Exactly. But revealed preference is what they actually do in real life. When Eastwick's lab put these same people on a speed dating room, the gender gap just disappeared. Completely. Both genders were equally drawn to attractiveness, and both were equally drawn to ambition and good earner traits. When you are actually sitting across from a human being, that Mars versus Venus distinction, it just melts away.
So when the rubber meets the road, men like ambitious women and women like hot guys just as much.
Exactly. The behavior doesn't match the survey. And this busts a big modern myth, the fear of the female breadwinner.
Oh, right. The idea that if a woman earns more, the man will feel emasculated and the relationship will implode.
The modern data just doesn't support that at all. There is no increased risk of divorce or breakup when the woman is more educated or earns more than the man. The old rules of hypergamy that women must date up in status are fading, or perhaps they were overstated to begin with.
That's huge. But they did touch on the narrative that men need to up their game. You hear this a lot online, that women's standards are skyrocketing and men are failing to meet them.
Eastwick suggests this isn't necessarily because men lack alpha traits or money. He thinks it's a symptom of men retreating from social spaces. I mean, there's a loneliness epidemic, specifically for young men.
Right. They mentioned that men are spending more time on screens, video games, pornless time in those closed fields we talked about.
Exactly. The solution isn't for men to go buy a Lamborghini, which, by the way, usually just signals a short-term mating strategy to women anyway. It signals, I'm here for a good time, not a long time.
So what's the real solution?
It's to get off the couch and meet people. If you aren't in the room, you can't be an office plus two.
So let's zoom out. If the market is mostly a myth among friends and leagues or fake news, what is actually binding us together? If it's not a transaction, what is it?
It's attachment.
Attachment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the sense of, I am here for you and you're here for me. It's about supporting each other's growth and comforting each other in adversity. It's not a trade. It's a physiological bond.
They shared a really specific hack for building this kind of intimacy quickly, which I thought was brilliant. It wasn't wear red or wait 3 days to text.
No, it was a question. What is something you're worried about that you've never told anybody?
Oof. That is heavy for a first date.
It is, but Eastwick explains that vulnerability, true openness, not weakness, is an aphrodisiac. It signals trust. It signals that you are letting them into the living room immediately. It says, I am trusting you with this soft part of myself.
It shortcuts the cool guy or cool girl facade.
Yeah.
But this focus on attachment also explains why breakups are so devastating. Because if a relationship was just a market transaction, a breakup would just be a failed business deal. You just go find another vendor.
Right. If I fire my accountant, I don't spend 3 months crying and eating ice cream. I just hire a new accountant. But a relationship, it feels like a death.
Why?
Eastwick explains that a relationship creates a microculture.
A microculture.
Think about it. You have inside jokes, pet names, shared rituals. In the source, they mentioned a couple having a secret squirrel route for their daily walk.
Right.
No one else knows what that means. It's a language of two. When you break up, that entire culture dies. It vanishes.
That is heartbreaking. It's like a civilization of two people just ceases to exist.
It is. And practically, you lose your primary support system at the exact moment you need support the most. That's why it destroys us. It's a systemic collapse of your world.
They talk about recovery, too. That you need a coherent narrative.
Yes. To close the loop, you have to be able to tell a story about why it ended and what you learned. If you can't construct that story, you stay stuck in the grief. You need to make sense of the loss of that culture so you can build a new one.
So what does this all mean for us? For the listener who might be swiping right now or worrying about whether they're a 7 or an 8?
It means we need to stop thinking of ourselves as products on a shelf with a price tag. We are complex attachment systems looking for a click, not a trade.
I love that. A click, not a trade.
And remember, while those market forces looks, status do exist at the very, very beginning, like at the bar or on the app, they lose their power rapidly. The league is a temporary illusion. It dissolves as you get to know someone.
It really reframes the whole game. If you feel like you're losing the dating game, maybe you're just playing the wrong version of it. You're playing market when you should be playing house.
Exactly.
I want to leave everyone with a final thought, riffing on that office plus two concept. If you feel invisible in the dating world, ask yourself, are you trying to compete in a stadium of strangers where you're just a face in the crowd? Or are you building a context where someone can actually stop, look, and see you? Because that is where the 6 becomes a 10.
Couldn't have said it better.
See you in the next Dimp Dive.